CEO waited alone. Every Christmas, until a single dad and her daughter knocked on her door with, "Every Christmas, Eleanor Hart, CEO of Hart & Co., waited alone in her luxurious penthouse. The city sparkled below like a million tiny stars, yet inside, her apartment felt like a hollow echo. Gifts piled on the table, expensive wine glistened in crystal glasses, and a fire crackled in the hearth. But no laughter, no voices, no warmth. Just her. She had always believed that success demanded sacrifice. Friends drifted away. Family, ties frayed, and love. Well, love had slipped through her fingers somewhere between board meetings and quarterly reports. And yet, every December 25th, she would sit by the window sipping her champagne and wonder if she'd made the right choices. This Christmas, however, something unexpected happened. A soft knock echoed through the apartment. Eleanor frowned. Who could it be? She wasn't expecting anyone. With her heels clicking against the marble floor, she approached the door. On the other side stood a man in his late 30s, slightly disheveled, but with a gentle smile, holding the hand of a little girl no older than 7. Snow clung to their coats, and their cheeks were rosy from the cold. "Hi," the man said. "I'm Ryan. This is Lily. We're sorry to bother you, but we didn't know where else to go." Eleanor blinked. She wasn't used to people knocking on her door uninvited, especially not with hopeful eyes that reminded her of herself, once long ago, before ambition had become her only companion. "Come in," she said, almost automatically. Inside, Lily's eyes widened at the sparkling Christmas tree, the ornaments, and the glittering lights. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Ryan explained their story in quiet, measured tones. They had nowhere to celebrate. His apartment had burned down a week ago, and relatives were out of town. He hadn't wanted to ask anyone for help, but he couldn't let his daughter spend Christmas alone. Eleanor felt a tug in her chest, a pull she hadn't felt in years. She offered them cocoa and cookies, but soon the cookies turned into laughter, and the cocoa into stories. Lily insisted on helping Eleanor decorate the tree with tiny handmade ornaments she had brought from home. Eleanor watched her CEO perfect apartment transform, not into a showroom, but into a real home. Hours passed. The city outside sparkled, but inside warmth bloomed. Eleanor realized she hadn't felt this alive in years. She saw the joy in Lily's eyes and the quiet gratitude in Ryan's smile, and something inside her shifted. Success, she realized, wasn't measured in profits or accolades. It was measured in moments like this. Then Lily tugged at Eleanor's hand. "We made something for you," she said, holding out a paper star. "It's for your tree." Eleanor took it, tears threatening to spill. It was simple, a little crooked but perfect in its imperfection. "Thank you," she whispered. That night, Eleanor, Ryan, and Lily sat by the fireplace sharing stories, laughter, and even a few tears. Eleanor learned that kindness wasn't just giving. It was opening your heart even when you'd forgotten how. And in return, she discovered something she had been missing all along: connection, love, and the simple joy of giving. When the clock struck midnight, Lily curled up on the sofa, Ryan's arm around her, and Eleanor realized she wasn't alone anymore. Not really. From that Christmas onward, Eleanor made it a tradition. Every year, she opened her doors to those who needed warmth, friendship, and a little bit of hope. And every year, she remembered the single dad and his little daughter who knocked on her door and unknowingly knocked on the door of her own heart as well. Because sometimes the greatest gifts don't come wrapped in ribbons or placed under trees. They come in the form of humanity, kindness, and the courage to let someone in. The next morning, Eleanor woke to a quiet apartment. The first thing she noticed was the little paper star Lily had made, still hanging on the tree. It seemed to glow in the soft morning light, a tiny reminder that her world had shifted overnight. She poured herself a cup of coffee, staring out at the city below. For the first time in years, she didn't feel the familiar weight of loneliness pressing on her chest. Instead, there was anticipation, a subtle question that had never occurred to her before. What if life could be different? A knock on the door startled her. It was Ryan, holding a small cardboard box. "Morning," he said, smiling sheepishly. "We didn't want to leave without saying thank you properly. Lily wanted to bring you something." Inside the box were hand-decorated cookies, some slightly misshapen but carefully crafted. Eleanor laughed, a real warm laugh that had nothing to do with boardrooms or meetings. Lily appeared behind him, peeking shyly from the doorway. "We made them for you," she said, "because you're nice to us." The words hit Eleanor harder than she expected. Nice, not rich, not successful, not powerful, just nice. It was the first time in years anyone had called her that, and it felt human. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor found herself thinking about them constantly. She invited them over for small dinners, slowly learning the rhythm of ordinary life. The smell of freshly baked bread, the sound of laughter echoing through rooms, the quiet satisfaction of helping someone without expecting anything in return. Ryan, a hard-working single father juggling 2 jobs, admired Eleanor's drive but also reminded her of life beyond profit margins. And Lily, bright, curious, and full of wonder, had a way of seeing Eleanor not as a CEO, but as someone who could care deeply. Then came another surprise. One evening, Eleanor found a handmade card on her desk, inside in Lily's uneven handwriting. "Dear Eleanor, thank you for letting us in. You made Christmas magic real. Love, Lily." Tears blurred her vision. She realized she hadn't just given them a warm home for a night. She had been given something far more precious in return, a chance to rediscover her own heart. Months passed. Eleanor's penthouse, once a quiet shrine to ambition, now echoed with laughter, playful chaos, and the smell of homemade cookies. She had discovered that generosity wasn't just about giving money. It was about sharing time, warmth, and presence. By the next Christmas, Eleanor had a plan. She opened her doors not just to Ryan and Lily, but to anyone in need of company, comfort, or a little joy. The Christmas Alone CEO story that the tabloids once whispered about had transformed into something entirely different. She wasn't alone anymore. She was surrounded by community, love, and the quiet knowledge that kindness multiplies when shared. And every year, without fail, Ryan and Lily were the first to knock on her door, reminders that sometimes the most unexpected guests can bring the greatest gifts. Because Eleanor learned the most important lesson of all, the true wealth of life isn't counted in dollars, accolades, or titles.